Cops in the head is a really lovely technique for looking at moments when a person has to make a decision about something, and there are these voices in their head giving them really unhealthy advice, negative advice, advice that takes them down some kind of unhealthy path, different than rainbow. And I've used that around issues of climate change, what stops us from taking action on climate change. We had really profound use of it when we were working on residential school issues, Reclaiming Our Spirits, that toured all across BC many, many years ago. Reclaiming Hope from a Culture of Fear uses cops in the head. Corporations in our head is an adaptation of cops, where in cops you're really dealing with personal voices from in our lives. And I wanted to know if you could adapt that so that they weren't such personal voices, but the corporate messaging. And in the doing of that, actually realized that what made it work was to attach the corporate messaging back to personal voices, interestingly, because it made it easier for people to play it. And why do some messages stick to us more than others? Because those messages themselves play off of really personal relationship in our lives. You know, Apple is not just a corporation. It's our best friend. It's our, you know what I mean? And then the corporate sector has been really good at crossing that boundary. And so the initial idea for corporations was branding, but what made it work was keeping the branding, but understanding how Nike, Apple, etc. are also deep personal relationships in our lives. And so how does it work? Three people offer stories about a moment when they had to make a decision about something, and all these voices were in their heads. And, you know, I want to say we all have these voices in our heads. This isn't mental health, you know, special mental health work. All of us have these voices. An example I like to use is a person would never say to themselves, "Gee, David, you're really stupid. Why do you do that? You're so stupid." That is a voice from a parent, a sibling, a teacher, somebody who, you know, you would do something and they go, "God, why do you do that? You're so stupid." Not just once, but over and over again. And that invades your psyche. It takes root. And so three people offer stories, and the room chooses the story that resonates the most with the room. And then that person whose story is chosen is there with me as themselves for the rest of the event. And again, we're not there to do psychoanalysis. It's a theater event. Cops can be a monologue. It can be you by yourself, or it can be with another person. If the story's with another person, somebody comes to play that person, but not a lot is asked of that person. This really focuses on the storyteller. So we put the moment up on the stage, and now I'm looking for that second where I can see in the storyteller's eyes that those voices are active. And I freeze it there and confirm that this is in fact the case. And then, much like in Rainbow, say, okay, you can't speak, you can't explain, but you can make a shape with your body. What's a shape of the advice that the loudest voice is giving you? And a shape happens. And we have to navigate this a bit sometimes. You know, I've now realized, I go, okay, I'm you. So I'm now sitting in the chair you were in or standing where you were, and you're the voice. I'm you, you're the voice. Because this is a big thing to ask of somebody, to take themselves out of the thing they've just done and now become one of the voices. It's a transition for them. Make a shape of what the loudest voice is telling you, and a shape happens. And I'll say to the audience, How many of you recognize the shape? Lots of hands go up. Who can come in with my help, turn the shape into a character? Hands go down, but somebody comes. Why? Please, folks, not because you think you know what's inside this person, but because you share the voice. And we people the stage with the voices from inside the protagonist, the storyteller's head. And I take them through some exercises to help them develop characters. They're frozen in shape, but they get sentences, phrases, and an identity. It's really important. They get an identity. And then they go off to the side, and one by one they come in and do an improvisation with the storyteller. What becomes important is to help the storyteller understand that it's not their job to fix the problem now. We're kind of in forum theater mode now. We want to show them just struggling with this. It's not their job to fix it. Now I say to the audience, if you have an idea about how to take the place of the person whose story we're working on, which we now all own, and try an idea to change the relationship with this voice, yell, stop, come, take the place and try your idea. And as I did this work, I realized that there are voices in our head, and they don't in fact go away. But we can, I know this from my personal life, change our relationship with them. And that actually can be a healthier choice. Voices of fear, for instance, if the volume is too high on that voice, it can paralyze us. But I worry about people with no fear. Fear keeps us alert. Fear can be our friend, not our enemy. It's all about the volume and perhaps what the fear is about. And so we do the improvisations one voice at a time. The voice's job is to try to convince the storyteller to do what they want them to do. It's not the storyteller's job to solve the problem. My request of them is to just be in the mess that they're in. Because COPS is kind of like forum theater. I get to say to the audience, if you understand this dilemma, you share the voice somehow because the stories become ours now. And you have an idea about how to change the relationship with this particular voice. Yell, stop, come onto the stage, into the playing area, take the place of the protagonist, the person who's told the story, and try your idea to change the relationship with the voice. And so we get to explore tactics for changing the relationships in our own lives to voices that give us unhealthy advice, whether they're real people in our lives or the messages of corporations that have invaded our collective psyche. And this is really powerful for people. I mean, I've got lots of emails from people from 2 Degrees of Fear and Desire, from corporations in our heads, about how that exercise really took them by surprise and changed things inside their lives, like forever. And isn't that the role of good theater? And so it is the opportunity opens up to present something as a theatrical event without a play, without any actors, without a script. It's really theater without a net that is about stuff that's profoundly about us.